She was looking at
We are now recording the June 1st, 2018 Small Business Accounting Advisors. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So this is the day of the GDPR. This is when GDPR takes effect. General Data Protection Regulation.
So what's the difference between the 25th and today?
Well, actually, it was the 25th is when it went it was enforceable on the 25th.
So, but all these notices that we're getting are saying June.
Who enforces it?
I don't know.
The EU. Well, see, I read one article that said that the government was actually saying, the EU was actually saying that this whole fear mongering of the massive fees and closing you all down, that they never intended for all that.
The vendors have gotten hold of it, and that everybody's selling something with relation to it, but
they don't want to just the 26th of May start fining billions of dollars. They even have
that's not their intent.
That's not their intent, and there's going to be a whole process of warning and helping you and all that stuff. So
the problem is
apparently TD Bank feeds are down and will not be back reinstated until they fix the security issue.
Well, and actually on
TD what?
TD Bank. Mark, come closer so we can hear you.
Here.
Just put the mic over there, right there.
It's all tangled.
So you're talking about your bank?
Well, well, actually, some of the newspapers went dark in the EU last week. I think the LA Times and
on
some
purpose.
others. Yeah. So the thing is, like any new law, it's a law, but it comes from interpretation from court cases, and as to the real details of it. There's no precedence, there's no precedent set because it's a brand new law, so you can't. So it's really hard to.
How does that have jurisdiction over, say, America? I mean, I thought it's a European.
I know.
Well, because it's not.
And I can see companies that are doing business in Europe, but for our size of business, I don't know that, unless it's like
It's anybody who maintains data or tracks EU residents. Now, it doesn't go to say it's a EU citizen. That's just, people say EU citizen, but that's in the law. It doesn't say EU citizen. So
Resident.
It
could be us living in
a U.S. citizen living in the EU. It's like any other law. If somebody comes to the United States, then they're bound by U.S. law, right? And it's the same thing. I mean, you go to the EU, you're bound or protected by the EU law, and so that's the idea, and that's where some of the real gray areas come in. And
good luck in enforcing that.
So I'm with Dennis. How do you enforce it? That's a worldwide thing, I would think.
It's costing companies millions and millions of dollars.
Well, of course, if you've got some footprint in the EU, then you have to, then they can directly enforce it against you in the EU. So, but when you're talking about corporations that are in the U.S. or other countries that don't have any particular footprint, it's just all
So people like TD Banks are just doing this as an extra precaution, shutting down their.
Well,
I'm trying to
the other
see what
thing
they
is
did.
those are going to be your high-profile targets too. So for lawsuits and things like that. So they're doing it to protect themselves.
Karen Magno was the one that I got that from.
Here we go.
And now I know a lot of people are saying, well, if you have a website that somebody from the EU could reach, and none of us are lawyers, so this is all just based on research that we've done. But you know, if your intent is to market to people in the EU, that's one thing. If you have a website because you market to the US and somebody from the EU happens to sign up for your newsletter stuff, that's not your, that shouldn't be your problem.
Right, and also if you have a website, I mean, well, unless you're selling stuff.
Well, yes, exactly. Now, if you are selling things and you ship stuff to the EU, I'm talking about just somebody who comes in. Matter of fact, it doesn't even have to be signing up for anything. It's just somebody who visits your site and you have cookies, or you use Google Analytics and you track what IP addresses connect to your site and that type of thing. As long that some of that stuff can all be covered by the GDPR
so it's even down to the cookies that you might, okay.
Well, look at Google
but because
Analytics.
websites are globally accessible, I mean, it's not practical to, like I said, unless the intent is to market to, or if you're marketing to. So say I had a website in the US, but it was written in Portuguese. Well, or I provide different languages, Portuguese and German, whatever. So, they could argue that, I'm kind of marketing to, I could be marketing to EU citizens, but.
I could see where Intuit might be impacted. Is QBO
Intuit,
over?
Yeah.
I assume they're over in Europe, aren't they, QBO?
I'm sorry, I'm not speaking well. QBO is in England, in the United Kingdom.
And the United Kingdom falls under this, even though, so it's currently part of the EU, and my understanding is at least until September of next year, I think that's the date, they'll be covered by the GDPR. Now, the thing is, even after Brexit, chances are they're going to have something similar in place. So, UK, you need to kind of plan for that kind of stuff if you deal with folks in the UK. And again, this is individuals. This is information about individuals, and it's not just social security numbers or whatever.
IP addresses.
It can be anything that can identify an individual.
I've been getting messages from Smart Vault to update.
Email address,
Well, everybody changed their privacy policies to address this, and
because a lot of companies have changed all this stuff,
right.
Figuring, look, we're just gonna apply this across the board. Now, the thing is, though, if I'm in the U.S. and I say, hey, Google, I signed this thing, and you sold my data to somebody. They're going to say, oh, well, there's no law in the U.S. to back up your claim. So even though.
Right.
So there's now EU citizen could do that. And
we just have to wait for lawsuits to start. There were lawsuits filed the next morning or that morning.
Well, there was.
As soon as it, went into effect, and it was, who it was now. They were lined up ready to go.
Complaints were filed. So, but that's the thing. So they're governing. They're just covering all the bases and just making it.
Well, I know I must have gotten 15 notices in the past 2 weeks from everyone, all the way through to Stacey K.
And if the U.S. government doesn't do anything, it's possible that some states may enact similar, legislation down the road. So it's something that I think we're going to be dealing with.
I could see maybe New York and California, some of the bigger states.
California definitely. I think California have something, and they had something in the works.
Well, basically, isn't it? The right to know who has your information and knowing what they're doing with it.
So some of the premises
isn't that impractical though? I mean, really, at this point, how practical is that?
How are you going to track that?
Well,
how
look
would
at
you track
It's
it?
going forward. It's not retroactive necessarily.
So someone goes viral on YouTube.
Um,
What does that mean? You know what I mean?
well, but then again, that's consent. I mean, if you've gone and
Yeah.
you've posted something on YouTube, then you're, either I'm sure YouTube has the consent stuff that that covers that. But the I don't know where I was going with that, but
Yeah, that sounds like some interesting things are going to happen coming forward, and some lawyers are going to get rich.
Well, they're already, we're reading articles about careful who you trust. There is no certification of people who are
right, there is
certified in GDPR.
yeah,
so
there is no
people are out
certification.
advertising that. And
It's not like PCI, compliance where they say you have to do this, and this. It's not. I mean, it's very general, and the general idea is that I give you my data. I consent to give you my information or let you have my information for the purpose that you say you are collecting it. And then you only are supposed to collect what you need and only keep it for as long as you need and only use it for the purpose expressly given. And then,
That sounds like on the honor system to me, and we know how well that works.
Yeah, the other side of and then obviously you have to protect it. So the other side of this is the right to be forgotten. So I need to, I can say, hey, Google, I want you to, any information you have about me, or
for marketing. For marketing, though, I mean, if I buy something and there's a record of my purchase, I had one article. It's like the IRS would be really keen on finding out that you deleted all your sales records.
Well, right,
so,
and those are the cases where it becomes difficult. You can't, somebody may not, and that's where case law and all that kind of stuff is going to come in, and examples as things go forward.
I get the idea, I get the theory, but I'm still very confused about how it's actually going to happen.
Let it shake out.
Everybody is. So.
Let it shake out.
You're not alone.
There aren't any cases on the books, or
And I don't even understand how, like Dennis said, that they would enforce it. Anyone could enforce it.
Well,
European police going to come over here and the European people going to sue me here in America?
They can cripple. Can't they cripple your?
They'd have to be in agreement with.
Right.
Some agency here in the United States to.
Yeah.
If you don't have a presence in the EU.
But theoretically, everyone does that has a website.
Yeah, but like I said though, unless your intention is to.
Right.
Gather data from EU residents, then I wouldn't worry about it.
Oh, I love this.
But that's
the EU Parliament's own website violates GDPR.
It's going to take a while for people to figure this
out. That's awesome.
Whoopsie, department. It's a regulatory nightmare because the compliance costs are high. And the setup of the rules are so vague that the liability risk remains high.
So who was the mastermind that came up with this idea?
Well, this is actually nothing new. The EU and Europe in general, the privacy is another beast than it is here in the US. We give our stuff away to anybody who asks for it. But they've actually had an effect, I think, since the mid-90s. Maybe a little DPR, which is, or is it? Yeah, I think it was Data Protection Regulations, or I may not have that name wrong, but it's what the GDPR replaces.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So.
All right, so this is interesting. So this guy said it took me less than 5 minutes to spot a violation on the website of the EU Parliament Google Analytics, which we all use Google Analytics on our website.
That's what I was thinking about.
Used to track the visitors, but without the necessary
consent
anonymized IP flag, which in turn causes Google to store the complete IP address without making it anonymous. You can take a look for yourself. So there's already within Google Analytics settings that you can, work with and stuff. So I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
I'm not going to spend that much energy on it, quite frankly.
Yeah, but if you're using good, that's good practice, though. If you're using Google Analytics to go in and put those things in place,
right.
There's nothing wrong with doing that.
Right, and Google Analytics was had messages and was will inform you what to do.
And that's the other thing going forward is if organizations, and again, the organizations that need to be concerned about it are the ones that are legitimately doing business with EU residents or processing information of EU residents. They don't necessarily have to be doing business. So say a company an EU company hires me to do their employee benefit plan audit. Well, hopefully they don't, because that would be a bad choice for them. Because I don't do employee benefit plan audits, but doing something like that, where I actually then I'm processing data depending on what they give me. A lot of times those companies give you, companies give you more than you really should have. But then I become, so I'm then processing stuff for that, and that's where, so then I become involved. So even though I'm not dealing directly with the EU residents, I'm still dealing with data from them. So I have to treat it properly.
Well, we'll see what we shall see.
Yeah, and it's going to take time. And they've said, they want people to be at this point showing that they are, anybody that needs to be concerned about this, showing that they're actually taking it seriously and doing.
Well, I do think people are taking it seriously. Just don't know, number one, what it's about, or number two, what to do about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, just the regular people. I'm not talking about big organizations that have people to find this stuff out. I'm certainly not looking up regulations, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why it's costing companies millions of dollars to beef up their legal teams, and
So I would say
and all that cost is going to trickle down to us.
Yeah,
it will.
Get passed on to us.
Like I said, though, in the end, this may set them up to be in better shape when these kind of regulations spread to other parts of the world, including our own states.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All righty. Well, after that, we're going to shift gears. We're going to talk to Sarah about say the name of it, SAAS tool, Saasant.
Saasant. Well, SAAS is a SAS program is online. And then ANT, it's got a little antenna.
Okay.
And it works like
It's a virtual ant?
It's a virtual ant.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Oh.
And matter of fact, I guess you sign in with Intuit. That's what it is. So it only works with QBO, and it's for importing transactions. So what we saw this morning was Seth David was showing how, and he didn't show how he got all the information in the first place. I think it off the bank website, maybe just a big dump of all the deposits and checks and everything. And then he was showing some tricks in Excel, how to sort out and get, months and months and months worth of data at one time. And then he was searching within a description and getting the word Amazon, and then saying, okay, well, my vendor name is whatever. And then even coding it. So the whole idea is to work with this massive spreadsheet, getting everything all perfect, instead of using the bank feeds and editing one at a time. And then he used the Saasant reads Excel, and he mapped his different fields. And you do this before you do your bank feeds so that it does the matchy for you. But pretty slick. So
Well, it's awesome for those banks that you can't get it to attach by bank feed.
or if you're doing a lot of back work. If you're doing a lot of back work, it's just not efficient doing
to do
all
it one by one
memos and getting the pays correct,
Right.
and all that while you're in QBO. It's a lot easier. And even in desktop, I know the Saasant does work with desktop, but I much prefer to dump everything in Excel and then use the batch enter feature
Right.
to get information in. So anyway, I just got a trial. I'm going to play with, I'm going to make a video of importing, like if say I'm migrating to QBO, how to clean up the chart of accounts, get the chart of accounts ready to go, and then use TBX trial balance exporter to get my journal entry for the whole year, all of the monthly totals. And let's see how Saasant goes with that. I have a feeling it's going to be cool. So,
Sounds interesting for you.
yeah, I am.
But again, only QBO and not desktop.
Not desktop,
But
but
does that presuppose you're able to get a CSV file from the bank?
yeah, that or Excel.
Or
No.
somewhere.
How about if you get like
System.
PDF? Can you basically do some sort of converter to put that in a
Use another
CSV?
program to
Do that
convert it
first.
before you
Yeah,
get
there
to.
are tools to do
Yeah,
that.
there are other tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could get the information from a POS system, not necessarily just the bank. There are other, like if you have restaurants or you're selling things or whatever,
Well, TPI Transaction Pro Importer has, some competition now. So they charge by link up per client, or per QuickBooks file, QBO file. Saasant is like $30 and you can set up 30
but there's
files.
transaction number limits with
No,
them.
that was just the trial. Well, that was the trial. I didn't see a limit on my.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it.
Z-Axis Importer is out there, and Business Importer is one I hadn't seen before. It looked interesting. I did a blog post last week about migrating history from QuickBooks Desktop. And in my article, I listed some of the options for then importing information. So Cloud Business, LLC.com, that's a new guy on the block. For QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. So there's another one I want to play with. What I liked about the Saasant this morning is what I worry about with QBO is with desktop, you can make a backup first, play around. If you totally screw it up, you restore your backup. But with QBO, it worries me. So it has almost an oops undo procedure that you can, if it just doesn't land the way it's supposed to land. The Saasant does, yeah.
It deletes all of those 200.
Yeah, it has a separate product for the deleter, but the importer also comes with the deleter. So anyway, so I've been so concentrated with my product on the exporting, and so now I'm looking at all different ways to import. But anything that you can do in bulk, like he was like sorting descriptions and like put all the Amazons together. You can do a ton of data.
Much more quickly in Excel.
Quickly. Oh man. So, as far, we talk about the robots doing work, but when you're doing catch up, and then you want to make sure your rules are correct moving forward.
Absolutely.
But let's see, who else has been calling? Auto entry. Because I said online that I want LedgerSync, auto entry, and HubDoc to get married.
That would be an awesome product. They should combine forces. Yes.
So, but anyway, so auto entry wanted to talk to me, and now auto entry and LedgerSync are actually talking. That's
Cool.
So, cute to see how that shakes out. Because I said, well, you know, in our SBAA, we have the shared smart sheets, and we've got comparative sheets going on. I want to do one for importing, and I want to do one for, I got a call today from, the guy couldn't say it either. I said, what does it mean? And he said, in Italian, it means smooth. I said,
well, we're not in Italy at the moment.
the name is not smooth. I'm trying.
Lecicio.
My mouth doesn't want to do that. And it's Darren Root is the CEO, and so he's written it. So it's basically yet another portal, conversation logs, passing documents back and forth, doing tasks, and so they're cold calling, trying to get demos, and I'm like, okay, when I get back from scaling, maybe. So I looked at it. Right off the bat, it's $370. The lowest fee is $375 a month, and I just looked at screenshots, and I'm like, I'm not seeing anything, super
that makes it that fantastic.
makes it any different than So I'll pick them apart, but I want to do a sheet for that. I want to do a sheet for communications. What are we using to communicate with our clients? QBO's got their own little toys going on. Smart sheets. We've got Judy McCarthy's Client Hub. There's Connect. Anyway, there's a ton of them.
I've been looking at stuff because I want something that encompasses a lot of different things, like not just my clients, my team, file share management, the portal, all that stuff. And it's really hard to find. I did look into Licio, Darren Root's.
Yeah, that's the one I was. That's the one. How'd you say?
I got a demo.
Oh, you already got a demo? Licio?
I got a demo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
I'll talk about it after we get off. But
okay. Yeah. Well, and for me, it boils down to systems and checklists. Everything I do is checklists.
It's great. That's wonderful.
Reoccurring check, and that's why I keep staying with Smart Sheets. But Smart Sheets doesn't have all that dashboard. Step back as a manager and see what is going on. I've got to go in and out of client workspaces. So, they all are missing some piece of the puzzle. Practice management, I guess we could call it that too. So we've got the Arrow,
yeah.
So maybe I'll
Have you looked into Arrow? I haven't used Arrow. I know that's Laura Redmond.
What I like about her is she has a library of documents and procedures and checklists, and she's a wonderful person. I know, and it's just so nice. Expensive for my practice size.
What's the pricing on it?
I don't remember. I just remember going, oh.
Well, Licio's up there too.
Licio, I mean, 1 to 3 employees was $375 to start.
Well, they brought it down to $179 for one person, and then $75 every additional person.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, well, it's like.
Well, I'm trying to find something, and I'm getting to the point where it doesn't matter. I mean, pricing is a factor, but when I start thinking of all the money I spend every month on all these different apps, it's like I'm tired of it. I'd rather just have one place.
We're still chunkifying. We're still going over here to do this. And
I hate it.
It'll
What's my
come
password for
together.
this one? What's my password for that one? You know, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's just too many different things.
Yeah, I the nickel and dime. Well, there's somebody on Facebook that said he was doing, what do you say, almost 50,000 a year just in software.
Oh my goodness.
How much?
50
How
grand.
big-
Well,
Oh,
I'm
that's a lot. I thought I was spending a lot.
We're doing about 13,000.
How big is that? I mean, how big an organization?
I don't know how many employees he has or
They
anything.
spend a lot of money.
Alrighty, well, we're going to end for this week. We're done. Our half hour goes quickly.
Yeah, I did have a couple of other, just going back to GDPR real quick.
Okay.
A couple of examples I had read online, and again, case law will prove all this stuff, but the law doesn't travel with the resident. So if somebody from the EU comes to the is traveling in the United States, and they order a pizza, and they give them their phone number and that, the pizza place doesn't have to worry about it, as long as they're not delivering the pizza in Europe. The pizza place does not have to worry about the fact that it's an EU citizen. That's because it's not, that.
Talk about profiling. Where are you from?
The EU citizen is governed by the U.S. They're here in the U.S. It's governed by U.S. law in that case. So.
Right. Don't put our pizza businesses out of business.
But it could apply. It would apply to anybody. If we travel to Europe,
Then we are under their laws.
Right. Well, and it's sort of for our protection, so it's really it's not a big deal for us. It's
right.
The companies that the organizations that or the
So I wonder what happens if you get pizza out on a cruise ship that's in international waters.
Well, again, it's not in the EU. So, well.
Yeah, if it's international waters, it wouldn't be.
Well, I guess it depends on the flag of the ship. I don't know. That's a good question. It could be if it's a ship that carries a flag from an EU country. That may work very well apply.
Well, at least somebody on Facebook will tell us.
Okay.
Where I get all my information.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. See you all same time, same place next week.
Sorry, I had to bounce out, Gina.
Oh, that's okay. Come back next week.
So,
Alrighty.
Ernest.